Just 36 hours from now, the race for the White House that began 2 years ago, and yes, it really has been that long, it'll finally be in the hands of you, of voters, or at least the ones waiting until Tuesday to cast their ballots. But before that, one last campaign sprint, with Vice President Kamala Harris stopping by SNL last night. You see her there. Then today, hitting multiple stops across Michigan. Former President Trump had his first rally at 10 this morning, starting in Pennsylvania, then racing through Michigan and now Georgia. His closing message overshadowed by his disturbing reference to violence against the press covering him. You also have much of the political world trying to figure out what to make of these new numbers from one of the country's top pollsters, showing Vice President Harris may be doing better than the conventional wisdom anticipates in Iowa, a state that hadn't really been on anyone's battleground bingo card. Our teams are there, and with both campaigns on the road. We'll get to our correspondents in a minute, but now let's start with our guy at the big board here. We meet again, Steve Kornacki.
Allie, this is it.
I know. Our last NBC News national poll, and the headline is super consistent. This race is still extremely competitive.
Exactly. I mean, it's fitting because certainly no one really knows what to make of everything that's been happening.
Yeah.
So we land on a 49-49 Harris-Trump tie in our final NBC News national poll and take a look a little bit underneath this here. How about the issues that are driving this campaign? And again, this is a consistent story. Where does Harris do best? A 20-point advantage over Trump on who do you trust more, who would do a better job when it comes to abortion. Trump, again, it's inflation, it's the cost of living. That's his best edge here. He does well on the border, too. But we've seen that throughout the campaign, and that's where it lands at the end.
Again, consistency over the last few months here. You know this. I know you know this. Races are not won or lost nationally. They are won or lost in the battleground states. And there's some new numbers here that may contain potentially some surprises.
Final set of battleground polls, all of them here from the New York Times, Siena College, one of the best regarded pollsters out there. And look, they do show Harris with an advantage here. It's very slight, but in Wisconsin, North Carolina,
that's interesting.
Very significant, right? Because that's the only battleground Trump actually carried in 2020. Harris trying to play offense there. Trump, Michigan, Arizona, so much attention on Michigan, given all the Gaza war controversies. And then right there, Pennsylvania, the biggest of all the swing states, dead even.
I have to talk about a state that's not on this list that a lot of people are talking about, and that is Iowa. We'll have Maura Barrett there with more in just a second. But this shock poll coming from a very well-respected pollster. She's considered the gold standard.
And that's it. She has picked up on last-minute trends before that no one else has seen. In fact, she saw that 4 years ago with Trump doing surprisingly well. And today, Ann Selzer, who does the Des Moines Register poll, out with one showing Harris 3 points ahead of Trump in a state Trump won both times by almost 10 points.
This was not on the battleground list. It may not be this time around, but it could pick up on some early trends.
And also it raises the possibility, are there other states out there like this?
Steve Kornacki, great to see you. We'll talk again, I know, in the days to come. Appreciate it. When it's this close, neither candidate can take their foot off the gas. Both of them have been making multiple stops today across the battleground states. Garrett Haake is traveling with the Trump campaign in Georgia.
Tonight, dueling strategies from dueling campaigns in the race's closing weekend. A noticeably angry Donald Trump hammering Kamala Harris in central Pennsylvania at his first of 3 planned rallies in 3 states today.
That horrible, terrible, the worst ever vice president.
Lashing out at Democrats.
But it's a very demonic party.
The former president remarking on the bulletproof glass that mostly enclosed him on stage, noting that anyone who might want to shoot him would have to fire through the reporters covering him.
And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much.
Trump's campaign later issuing a statement that did not disavow his remarks, reading in part, quote, President Trump was stating that the media was in danger in that they were protecting him and therefore were in great danger themselves. Also making headlines after RFK Jr. saying a new Trump administration would, quote, advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water. Trump today telling NBC News the fluoride removal idea, quote, sounds okay to me.
So good to worship with you.
Meanwhile, Harris focusing on Michigan, trying to energize black voters at a church in Detroit this morning.
When I think about the days ahead and the God we serve, we were born for such a time as this.
And later at a black-owned business outside Detroit. And reaching out to Arab and Muslim voters angry about the administration's handling of the war in the Middle East.
We need to end the war, and we need to get the hostages out. And as President of the United States, I will do everything in my power to achieve that end and a two-state solution.
Overnight, Harris making a surprise appearance on Saturday Night Live, giving the show's version of herself a pep talk.
The American people want to stop the chaos
And end the drama
with a cool new stepmama. Kick back in our pajamas and watch a Kamala.
like Legally Blondula.
Garrett is joining us now from a rally in Georgia. And Garrett, it looks like Mr. Trump is not going to be ending his campaign with an appearance with his now former rival, Nikki Haley, right?
That's right, Haley penning an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal urging skeptical Republicans to support Trump, but the two won't appear together, even as Harris aggressively courts Haley's supporters. Hallie?
Garrett Haake, thank you very much. With one full day left of campaigning, we have new reporting tonight about the closing strategies for both campaigns. Aaron Gilchrist is traveling with Vice President Harris in Michigan.
As they head into the final hours of this campaign, both sides doing everything they can to energize their supporters, laser focused on turning out the vote. Vice President Harris with her last rally in Michigan tonight. But tomorrow going all in on must-win Pennsylvania with 3 stops there, ending with a star-studded final rally in Philadelphia. Today, posting a video urging people to vote and showing her absentee ballot.
So make sure you fill out your ballot. I did mine. I'm going to put it in the mail.
Harris using an optimistic closing message, trying to show a contrast with her opponent.
I see an incredible number of our young people, our young leaders. Oh, it would inspire you to see how they are organizing for change. How you doing?
Releasing this final closing ad, a 2-minute message aimed at undecided voters watching Sunday afternoon pro football.
We see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies.
The Trump campaign says their final stops are data-driven, targeting locations they believe they can drive supporter turnout. Former President Trump will spend tomorrow across 3 states, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and his final stop, Grand Rapids, Michigan, at midnight, where he's ended each of his previous presidential campaigns.
So we got to get our country straightened out, or we're not going to have a country. All right? That's all. And you have a chance in 2 days. And if you don't vote, you're stupid. You're stupid.
Aaron is joining us now. So, Aaron, we're learning more about the election night plans for each of the candidates, right?
Yes, Hallie, a source tells us that Trump will spend his election night at a watch party in West Palm Beach, Florida, after he votes there in the morning. Harris will be at election night parties at her headquarters in Washington, D.C. at Howard University, her alma mater. Hallie?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.